What is up, guys? It's your boy Zach here, aka That Bio Dude, coming at you live with the coolest, most informative, and funniest AP biology videos on the interweb. And today we're talking about hormones and the endocrine system. Alright, so the nervous system and endocrine system work together to regulate the activities of all other systems. Both systems use chemical signals when they respond to changes that seem threaten homeostasis, but they deliver them differently. The endocrine system is largely composed of glands. These glands secrete hormones are carried by the bloodstream to target cells throughout the body. So these are the modes of action of the nervous and endocrine system. So the nerve impulses passing along an axon cause a release of a neurotransmitter. The neurotransmitter, a chemical signal, binds to the receptor and causes the walls of an arteriola to constrict. The hormone insulin, a chemical signal, travels in the cardiovascular system from the pancreas all the way to the liver, where it is then begin to secrete the liver cells to store glucose as glycogen. And that's kind of how the nervous system and the endocrine system work together. It's an example of it. Alright, so there's a lot of different glands in the body. Here's a look at the main glands. So you have your hypothalamus, which is in charge of releasing and inhibiting hormones that regulate the anterior pituitary. The pituitary gland is the posterior and the anterior side. The posterior is in charge of ADH, the hormone ADH, which is water absorption by the kidneys. That's what it helps out in. And then the anterior pituitary hormones like TSH, ACT, and LH, which are, you stimulate the thyroid with the TSH, stimulate the adrenal cortex with the ACTH, and you have your thyroid, which is in your throat. This increases the metabolic rate and in growth and development. You have your adrenal gland, which are found in your adrenal cortex and the adrenal medulla, and this is in charge of the glucose level breakdowns of proteins. Gonads, you have the testes and the ovaries in the males and females. Pancreas, in charge of insulin regulation. Thymus gland, production and maturation of the T lymphocytes. You have your parathyroids, which raises blood calcium level, and then the pineal gland, going back to the brain, which is in charge of circannual rhythms. Alright, so hormones are chemical signals. Like all other chemical signals, hormones are the means of communication between cells, between body parts, and even between individuals. They typically affect metabolism of cells that have receptors to receive them. So you kind of see in this picture, you have the capillary with the hormones in it, and they're released to the target cells, which then receive them, and that's how the hormone initiates a response. Another picture, two more pictures here. On the left, you have the peptide hormone. On the right, you have the steroid hormone. Kind of go through the steps of how it works. So on the left here, the peptide, you have the hormone binds to a receptor in the plasma membrane. Binding leads to an activation of an enzyme that changes ATP to CAMP, which is a second messenger. The CAMP activates an M-side cascade. Many molecules of glycogen are broken down to glucose, which enters the bloodstream, and that's how the peptide one works. On the right here, talking about steroid hormone. It passes more directly, so right away it's going to start off. Hormone diffuses through plasma membrane because it's lipid soluble. Hormone binds the receptor inside the nucleus. The hormone receptor complex activates gene and synthesize of a specific mRNA molecule, and then that mRNA moves to the ribosomes and proteins where the synthesis can occur. Alright, the hypothalamus and pituitary gland. The hypothalamus regulates the internal environment through the autonomic system. For example, it helps control heartbeat, body temperature, and water balance. The hypothalamus also controls the granular secretion of the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland, a small gland about 1 centimeter diameter, is connected to the hypothalamus by a stalk-like structure. The pituitary has two main portions, the posterior and the anterior. The posterior pituitary is in charge of producing the hormone ADH, which is key for the kidneys when it comes to filtration, as well as the hormone oxytocin, which is key in childbirths. The anterior pituitary is in charge of producing many hypothalamic inhibiting hormones, such as gonadotropic hormones, which are stimulant gonads, ACTH, which stimulates the adrenal cortex, and TSH, which stimulates the thyroid to produce thyroxine. So here's a picture of the hypothalamus and the pituitary and how they work. Oh, I'm just kidding. This is hypothalamus, pituitary. We're going to kind of focus on the posterior and anterior pituitary here and kind of what they do. So on the left, you have the Neurosecretory cells produce ADH and oxytocin. These hormones move down the axons to axon endings. When appropriate, ADH and oxytocin are secreted from the axon endings into the bloodstream. And then on the right, with the anterior side, you have the neurosecretory cells produce hypothalamic releasing and hypothalamic inhibiting hormones. These hormones are secreted into a portal system. Each type of hypothalamic hormone either stimulates or inhibits production, and secretion of an anterior pituitary hormone. The anterior pituitary secretes its hormones into the bloodstream, whereby they are then delivered to specific cells, tissues, and glands. So other endocrine glands and hormones, you have the thyroid glands, a large gland located in the neck, where it's attached to the trachea just below the larynx. The parathyroid glands are embedded in the posterior surface of the thyroid gland. To produce triiodothyronine and thyroxine, the thyroid gland actively acquires iodine. The concentration of iodine in the thyroid gland can increase as much as 25 times that of blood. If there's not an active flow of iodine, complications can happen. Some example of these would be a simple goiter, congenital hypothyroidism, and an exopatholic goiter. And so you kind of see in the simple goiter is the enlarged thyroid gland in the neck. And then with congenital hypothyroidism, this can happen during infancy or childhood and kind of lead to mental retardation and other complications such as that. And then exopatholic goiter is due to overactive thyroid, and this can cause eye socket tissue problems, as you can see in the picture there on the right. All right, adrenal glands. Adrenal glands sit atop the kidneys. Each gland is about 5 centimeters long, 3 centimeters wide, and weighs about 5 grams. An adrenal gland consists of an inner portion, which is called the adrenal medulla, and the outer portion, which is called the adrenal cortex. Hypothalamus exerts control over the activity of both these portions. It initiates nerve impulses that travel by the way of the brainstem, spinal cord, and sympathetic nerve fibers to the adrenal medulla, which secretes its hormones. Pancreas. Pancreas is a slender, pale-colored organ that lies transversely in the abdomen between the kidneys and near the duodenum of the small intestine. The pancreas has 2 main functions. Those are the exocrine function that helps in digestion and the endocrine function that regulates blood. And the picture on the left is kind of explaining what we kind of talked about before of negative and positive, negative feedback mechanism of low and high blood pressure. We kind of hit that in the other video, so we don't really talk about that today. All right, the pineal gland and the thymus gland. The pineal gland is a small endocrine gland. It produces melatonin, a hormone that affects the modulation of wake-sleep patterns and the photoperiodic or seasonal functions. It is located near the center of the brain between the 2 hemispheres, tucked in a groove where the 2 rounded thalamic bodies join. Unlike much of the rest of the brain, the pineal gland is not associated from the body by the blood-brain barrier system. It is reddish gray and about the size of a pea. The thymus gland, despite containing glandular tissue and producing several hormones, I actually found, which I thought was interesting, is more closely associated with the immune system than in the endocrine system. This is because it serves a vital role in the training and development of the T lymphocytes or T cells, an extremely important type of white blood cell. These T cells defend the body from potentially deadly pathogens such as bacteria, viruses, and fungi. I thought that was kind of interesting. And that actually does it for this video, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that does it. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Got 2 more videos left, and then we're all wrapped up.